Hi there, my name's Eric Francis Coppolino here with a special edition of Planet Waves TV for Mercury, stationing direct and the Libra equinox. Today is September 22nd, and by the way, just as an aside, you've probably seen this, there is a new version of the hoax going around the internet that your zodiac sign is wrong and that NASA changed the dates of the zodiac signs, and incredibly people are reacting to this as if it might actually be true and have some impact on their life. And I'm just here to tell you, first of all, that that is not true, and to remind you that it is actually a prank that was begun in the 1970s by a science fiction writer who liked to hoax astrologers. It was picked up again and again. Last we heard from it was 2001. Now, as of September 20th, NASA has put this thing on their website where they're saying, well, as far as we're concerned, the constellation Virgo is 45 degrees wide, and the constellation Scorpio is only 7 degrees wide. And oh, by the way, there's a 13th constellation on the thing. This is the equivalent of NASA sending you a letter. NASA? I mean, why? They have space probes to worry about and little robots up on Mars to worry about. Somebody is bothering to waste federal taxpayer money on this, and all they're really doing is messing with the lives of astrologers. But anyway, NASA is the source of this latest version of this hoax, where they're claiming to have redone the mathematics and they've measured the constellations and so forth and so on. It is complete bullshit. I will explain this to you in a couple of minutes. I've just done 4 or 5 takes of a separate Planet Waves TV to try to explain this in as few words as possible. So I use things like, this is a prank and your zodiac sign is not wrong. So in case you needed to read that. All right, so first of all, there are several zodiacs. Here's proof that there are several zodiacs. One is called the tropical zodiac. That's the one that we use here in the United States, in England, and India, much of India. And, well, not India. Cancel that. The heliocentric, which is used by research astrologers and others, and sidereal, which most of the astrologers in India and Bangladesh use. There's other versions of the zodiac that are used in China and various places. There's a lot of zodiacs. The tropical zodiac is based on the seasons. I'm going to show you a map of that in a second. The heliocentric zodiac is based on the signs projected around the sun. That's why it's called heliocentric. And the sidereal zodiac is based on a little bit more closely to the constellations. But the thing to remember about all 3 zodiacs is that the way that ancient astronomers dealt with the problem of the unequal size of the constellations was to invent something else called a sign. It's like when they invented the wheel, it was made of stone, and then they finally got Firestone, made one made out of rubber. Well, this is a little bit like that. There are problems with the constellations, including that they're different sizes and that they drift in the sky based on this thing called precessional movement, which I don't have much time to get into here. So in any event, the ancient Babylonians and the ancient Greeks, centuries and centuries and centuries, in fact, the Greeks had this down around the year 350 BC, invented the tropical zodiac. And here is how that works. This is my 6th time explaining it in the past few minutes. All right. It is based on the seasons. Notice them: spring, winter, autumn, and summer, not in that order. And the astrological year begins when the sun enters the sign Aries, right? That's the beginning of the astrological year. And there's this thing called the Aries point, which has a proper astronomical name that I think a lot of astronomers have not heard of. It's called the sidereal vernal point. And that's the point where the sun is when night and day are equal in the spring. That's around March 20th-ish. And that's the beginning of spring. 30 degrees or 30 days approximately go by. Sun's in Taurus, 30 more. It's in Gemini, 30 more. Lo and behold, the summer season begins when the sun is aligned with the Tropic of Cancer in the north. That's how that works. And that's why the season changes, and it's why the sign is called Cancer, because it's aligned with the Tropic of Cancer, and then we keep going, and it's Leo, and then there's no Tropic of Leo. Then there's Virgo, and then today the sun aligns with the equator again, just like it did here, and we have equinox again, and the autumn season begins. Then 30 days go by, and it's Scorpio, 30 more, and it's Sag, 30 more, and it is winter. And the sun is aligned with the southern tropic, the Tropic of Capricorn. Go figure. And the sun is in the sign Capricorn. And then 30 days, and we are back to the beginning of the year. Now, there are constellations back here. So notice that. But for example, in the case of Aquarius and Pisces, they overlap. And so you can't, there is no division between Aquarius and Pisces, which may be a metaphor that you can use, may be interesting, right? Because one's water and one's the water bearer. Okay. So it is, there's a lot of reasons why these ancient philosophers who invented astrology, among them Eudoxus, use the tropics and not the constellations. But the main point being that this is a hoax. It's being picked up again by NASA. These people really should have better things to do with their time. And that's what I have to say about the 13th sign. Your sign is wrong. Ophiuchus hoax. Now let me peel this off of here, and let's talk about the hoax known as the Libra equinox. All right, that's what it is. And here's our zodiac. Now we've got some things populated into the zodiac, and three things have changed in the past little while. Mainly one of them being that Jupiter entered Libra on September the 9th. It spent a year in Virgo, and now it's going to spend 13 months in Libra. That's partly due to a long retrograde that extends Jupiter's stay in Libra. And then Mercury stationed direct this morning at about 1:30 this morning Eastern time, and then the Sun entered Libra at about 10:30 Eastern time this morning. So that's a lot of news. This Mercury retrograde was a pretty brutal one by many measures. I mean, Mercury is rather influential in the sign Virgo, which is where it was and where Mercury still is, but at least now it's moved to direct motion. That should be taking a little bit of the heat off and a little bit of the sense of pressure and confusion. This was a retrograde that was rife with misunderstandings. I don't usually have this many misunderstandings in a Mercury retrograde. Other weird things go wrong, but here it seemed for the past 3 weeks impossible to say anything and be understood correctly the first 5 times that I said it. So I'm happy that we've learned those lessons well and are moving on to bigger and better puzzles to solve. So Mercury is in direct motion. Will now be clearing the degrees where it was retrograde. So let me just show you how that looks, basically. I'm sure you've heard this tossed around, the shadow phase business. Just adding a little blue mark there. See that? This is the thing I just added with my industrial light and magic marker Sharpie. All right. So the retrograde of Mercury started right at the end of Virgo, right before Libra, kind of teasing the first degree of Libra, which is an extension of the Aries point. And it went backward out to here, right around the middle, 14 degrees and change, so it retrogrades about 15 degrees. It's station direct. It stopped this morning. This, by the way, is not Mercury changing directions. It's Mercury going past the Earth. Then it will cover these degrees of the zodiac again, because it was retrograde there. Now it's going to be direct there. It can't take another route. It's got to go back the way that it came. And when Mercury is still in this little blue zone, it's called shadow phase. I sometimes call it echo phase. And then when Mercury enters new territory, when it basically leaves Virgo in this case and enters Libra, the shadow phase or echo phase is over, and Mercury is moving on to new adventures. So the retrograde is over, but the whole retrograde process still has about 2.5 weeks left to complete. Some people are very sensitive to the shadow phases that come before and after the retrograde. Some are much more sensitive to the retrograde itself. But it does seem like there's some kind of unraveling going on, and people are kind of collectively breathing a sigh of relief. This was an intense Mercury retrograde. Now, during this Mercury retrograde, many things happened. There were 2 eclipses, for example. There was the third square of Saturn and Neptune. Jupiter changed signs. Lots of things happened. And they are kind of behind us, basically. Now we are moving on into new adventures. A little bit of review phase with the shadow phase business, but that's to say, take a little time coming up to speed, fix what you can fix, work on repairing any misunderstandings that you can repair, and tidy up your house and get ready for a brisk, adventurous autumn season. Here in the United States, we are blessed with the ending, thankfully, of the presidential election, which is on November the 8th. By the way, in tonight's edition of Planet Waves, just ordinary Planet Waves, I have the extended monthly horoscope and an article that looks closely at the chart for the election on November 8th and the chart for the inauguration. Don't miss that. It's at members.planetwaves.net. We'll link to it from Facebook and other social media in case you need to be fed your feed to do anything, which seems to be a lot of people these days. All right. So, meanwhile, today, the Sun joined Jupiter in Libra. And I had said earlier on that Jupiter was going to enter Libra. We really wouldn't feel it till Mercury stationed direct and the Sun joined Jupiter in Libra. Did I say Mercury? I meant Jupiter. And now we have that going on. So now we kind of begin the official fun of Jupiter in Libra, Sun in Libra, and they're going to make a conjunction that will last pretty much for about 6 or 7 days from now. So we have the benefit of a Sun-Jupiter conjunction, which that's a pretty good one. And as they come in astrology, you can't really say anything bad about a Sun-Jupiter conjunction, with the Sun and Jupiter magnifying themselves by one another, and lots of emphasis put on the sign Libra, which is the sign of beauty, of elegance, of balance, of emotional intelligence. Libra brings a lot of beautiful things into our lives. All right. A few other things going on. One of them is that Uranus and Eris are currently in a conjunction, and that conjunction is exact, I believe, on the 25th. That's number 2 of 3. So the number 2 of 3 is the one that works in the oh dear, wait a second, I've got this. Look, I'm going to actually get to use the heliocentric chart for something. The heliocentric chart, in the tropical chart, there's 3 conjunctions of Uranus and Eris. In the heliocentric chart, where there's no retrograde motion, there's only 1 conjunction of Uranus and Eris, and we are in that 1 conjunction now, the real one. If I mentioned that the Saturn-Neptune square was in its 2nd iteration last week, I know I did on Planet Waves FM. What I meant was it is in its 3rd one. The Saturn-Neptune square is now separating. So during the Mercury retrograde, we had the 3rd of 3 Saturn-Neptune squares. That aspect has been very challenging for many people, particularly if you have planets sitting there and you have them being activated simultaneously by one influence that likes to make things solid and serious and permanent and dense, and Saturn, and another one that likes to wash them away and make them dissolve and blur and blend all the colors, that being Neptune. It's challenging to put Saturn and Neptune together because they represent opposite functions in astrology. And so if you've got something in your chart lined up with that square, it's been challenging, and you may start to get a little bit of pressure taken off of that. Remember that Neptune has a wide orb of influence, and that Neptune transits do tend to go on quite a while. And the thing about Neptune transits is when you're in one, you have to look for what you're not noticing, and listen for what you cannot see, and smell for what you cannot hear, and make sure that you put persisting in your pursuit of the truth and of telling the truth first. This is the thing with Neptune, is get clear about your personal truth. All right, let's see what else is going on in this chart. We may be able to make this one a short edition of Planet Waves TV. That would be lovely. All right, the most interesting aspect of the day is Mercury stationing direct in an exact trine to Pluto. So this is going to basically allow the depth of Pluto in Capricorn to flow through into Mercury and its communication function. And that's at least speaking as a journalist and as an astrologer, I think that's a beautiful and a helpful thing. Few points of in-house stuff. I'm doing an astrology class on the 8th day of October. The class is called It's All About the Houses. My approach, that's a Patrick Walker quote, by the way. He said it to Jonathan Kainer once, and Jonathan passed it along to me. And the thing about the houses is this. Let's say, for example, that you've been studying astrology for a long time and you've read a lot of books and you've taken classes. Some of them have gone on for years, and you've tried to read charts and you're still not able to put the picture together. The thing that you're the most likely to need is information about the houses and how to use the houses. This is the easiest part of astrology. It's also the most useful and helpful part of astrology, and I'm sure you will find this to be beneficial. Go to the planetwaves.fm website and there'll be a promo for the class and also sign up information. And if you write to me at efc@ericfrancis.com, do I need to write that down? I did that last week. Why don't I just take a minute and do it again? Where did my here's my awesome new graffiti pen. Just got this at the art supply store. And I'm going to go out tagging things tonight. E with my email address. FC. EFC@ericfrancis.com. Write to me, say hello, and I will send you a product code for the class at the best rate. If you sent one in the past few days, I didn't respond, please send it again. Make it a clear subject header. In addition, the Virgo birthday reading is available and exists. I know your birthday has passed. The Libra reading is coming, and these are beautiful readings. They're a combination audio and video, and it is the most economical, highest quality astrology you can get. It is both. I do this in a beautiful, humane, loving, friendly, funny way, and my prices are the best on the internet. What more could you ask for? My name's Eric Francis Coppolino, reporting in from Kingston, New York. Good to be with you. Catch you on a different day.